morning. Good morning. Welcome to the worship service, Parish Church of Christ. Good to see each of you here this morning. For those of you who have been members here for quite a while and remember Henry Poston, Henry and Sister Yolanda worshiped here. Henry baptized his daughter yesterday here at the church building. He had been baptized here and he wanted to, I don't know if it's him or his daughter, Jordan, but she wanted to be baptized here where Henry was, where her dad was, and so it was just the immediate family, Henry and his wife Bobby and Yolanda and Samantha, the oldest daughter, who's already been baptized, and then Jordan. And Henry baptized Jordan yesterday in Christ. Lucille has his address if you happen to want to write him and congratulate Jordan on her decision and invite him to come worship with us while you're at it. Maybe they'll be here for our next Wednesday. But anyway, we're certainly glad for the family for that. Chick-fil-A is a family-owned business. Started in 1967 in Atlanta, Georgia by Truett Cathy. His son now runs the company, Dan. The Cathys are very religious and lose probably millions of dollars a year in revenue because they require each of their restaurants to be closed on Sunday so that their employees can go to worship if they would like. Last month, Dan Cathy was asked by a Baptist newspaper what his views of same-sex marriage was. And Dan Cathy said that he was against gay marriage and affirmed his support for biblical marriage. And the floodgates burst open as Chick-fil-A became the newest battleground in the culture war of which homosexuality is only a symptom of an underlying problem. After Cathy's views became public, Boston Mayor Tom Menino sent a letter to Dan Cathy and Chick-fil-A telling them that if they did not abandon their homophobic view, then they should abandon any plans for opening any more Chick-fil-A's in Boston. Chicago Mayor Ron Emanuel warned Chick-fil-A to stay out of Chicago because, in his words, Chick-fil-A did not stand for Chicago's values. And then San Francisco Mayor Edwin Lee got in on the act, and Mayor of Washington, D.C., Vincent Gray, followed. Now, I'm not sure what happened to the First Amendment, the right to free speech, but apparently it stops when Christians express their views of how things ought to be. It might cover, the First Amendment might cover people who want to immerse Jesus hanging on a crucifix into a jar of urine and call it art, but it does not cover Christians who express their views on biblical morality. And so, because these mayors called for a boycott of Chick-fil-A, Mike Huckabee called for people to support Chick-fil-A on August the 1st. They had a record-breaking day, as you can imagine. But then the gay community decided to retaliate, and on August the 3rd, they decided to have what they called a kiss-in. I thought it would be good for me and Rachel to go and show them how it's supposed to be done. But they showed up protesting, ironically, the First Amendment. Chick-fil-A responded in kind by giving them free sandwiches, free lemonade. Around this same time, and this was not so well publicized on the news, Google announced that they were going to use their shareholders' money to finance a worldwide gay rights campaign to, quote, legalize love. Office Depot has recently announced that it was going to donate to Lady Gaga's campaign, Born This Way Foundation. The Born This Way Foundation is geared towards anti-bullying against gays. I'm against bullying gays. But I don't know what a company that sells paper clips has to do with gay rights. The Boy Scouts obviously are caught up in the tidal wave. Jeff and Mackenzie Bezos, who are the founders of Amazon.com, have announced that they are donating $2.5 million to support the same-sex marriage referendum in the state of Washington. Brethren and friends, we are in a culture war. It's for the heart and soul of the American nation and our history of being a Christian nation. One thing that I found disturbing was this man who showed up dressed as Jesus with this sign saying, "I had two fathers and I turned out right." I don't have any ill will towards homosexuals. I've met two here in Paris. When they told me that they were gay, they might as well have told me that they were a perpetual liar or a thief. As far as I was concerned, one sin is just as bad as another. It didn't turn me off. It didn't repulse me. I invited folks to come to church, and one's been to church since then, been to worship. But the question is, how does Jesus feel about homosexuality? Before we get to that, here's something that you might find surprising with all of the hullabaloo over gay rights. In a massive polling done by Knowledge Networks in interviews with a random sample of 15,500 Americans, 15,508 to be exact, last year, 2011, Americans between the ages of 19 and 39 were asked if their father and mother had ever engaged in a homosexual or same-sex relationship. 1.7% said yes. Now, you would not get that from what you see on TV. You would not get that from what you see in the movies. That less than 2% of Americans claim to engage in homosexual relationship. This statistic, and that is a massive sample of 15,000 Americans, shows us that the homosexual community is on the very fringe of our society. And yet our media, the networks and movies and television shows, they want to pull what is on the fringe and make it as if it is normal. So much so that I have read high school students and even junior high students are beginning to experiment with gay relationship. What does the Bible teach? That's what you and I are interested in knowing. Look at Genesis chapter 19, and we have the first record in the Bible of same-sex relationship. Genesis chapter 19. God has sent 3 angels down in chapter 18 to let Abraham know that God is going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. 2 of them go on, one stays behind and talks to Abraham. You see, Abraham has a situation here. Abraham's nephew Lot and his family live in Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham makes a deal with God, so to speak, and tries to talk God out of destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. And God says, if you can find 10 people in Sodom and Gomorrah who are righteous, I won't destroy the city. These other 2 angels go into Sodom and Gomorrah to save Lot and his family. They come to Lot's house there in Sodom. And Lot is very hospitable and gracious. He invites them in and he prepares them a meal, unleavened bread, and they sit down to eat. Well, then some men, not people, men from Sodom come to the door and they want Lot to come out, and Lot comes out, and look at verse 5. These men say, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may," your translation might say, know them. The New American Standard translates that verb as have relations with them. The Hebrew literally says know them. They're not wanting to sit down and have a cup of coffee. Lot says, no, I don't want you to do this. How can you act wickedly? Verse 7. Verse 8, he says, behold, I have 2 daughters who have not, your translation say, known men. Clearly, Lot is not saying, my daughters have never had a cup of coffee before. God said, I'll bring them out and let you have a cup of coffee with them. That's not what Lot is saying, because that's not what the men in Sodom want. The verb know is used some 900 times in the New Testament, and generally speaking, it means what you and I understand know to mean, to have an acquaintance with. But out of the 12 times the verb is used in the book of Genesis, it means 10 out of those 12 times to have a sexual relationship with. For example, Genesis chapter 4, Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain. These men in Sodom are want to engage in a homosexual relationship with these visitors. Now, what really tells us that that is the situation is Jude's reference to this event in Jude verse 7, where Jude writes, Sodom and Gomorrah, the surrounding cities, which likewise indulge, notice Jude says, in sexual immorality and pursue unnatural desire. Unnatural desire is a desire that God has not authorized. And so Jude refers to that situation in Jude chapter verse 7 rather, and Jude says God did not spare the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. In fact, if we look at Genesis chapter 19 and verse 24, the Bible says that God rained down fire and brimstone from heaven on Sodom and Gomorrah. And the only sin that is mentioned there, now Ezekiel refers to some other things like the lack of hospitality. But the only sin that is referenced in Genesis chapter 19 itself is homosexuality. Judges refers to homosexuality. Let's look at what the law of Moses says in Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 22. The law of Moses says, you shall not lie with a man as with a woman, for it is an abomination. Abomination refers to something that is totally opposed to the nature of God. It is something that God abhors. It is something that is so far beyond God's view that it is like black and white. Later on in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13, God, through Moses, gives his penalty for engaging in homosexuality. If a man lies with a man as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, and the law of Moses says they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be on their own hands. And there are certain things that God tolerated in the old law. There are certain things God tolerated in the law of Moses. For example, having more than one wife. God tolerated. God tolerated lying in the Old Testament. But there are certain sins that God does not tolerate. And at least under the law of Moses, one of them was homosexuality. God didn't tolerate it. God never regulated. God regulates slavery in the Old Testament. God regulated it. God never regulates homosexuality. He never turns a blind eye to it. But again, the question is, what does Jesus have to say about why did Jesus, if homosexuality is such a big deal, then why did Jesus condemn it? And the gay lobby is right that Jesus never used the word homosexuality. Jesus never talked about gay rights or condemning gays. That's true. We'll grant them that. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, none of them ever mention homosexuality. But in John chapter 10 and verse 30, Jesus says, I and my Father are one. So the question is, who wrote the book of Leviticus in the first place? Well, God did. Who was it that sent fire and brimstone from heaven down on Sodom and Gomorrah? God did. Jesus says, I and the Father are one. There's nothing that God did that Jesus didn't participate in. There's nothing God said. There's no view that God had.